Hello everyone, welcome to Caroline's Craftery and welcome to a Slow Stitch Sunday. Now I recently acquired some of these upholstery sample books. You'll see it in an upcoming Thrifty Connects video, but anyways, I decided what am I going to do with some of these because there is a few like bigger sheets, but most of them are these long skinny pieces. So we are going to be making something with those today. So I took one book apart, and these are only a small amount of what you get. I probably got like 50 out of the one book. But they're all long and skinny like this. Probably I'm going to say 5 inches by about 8 inches or so. But the one end has this type of stuff on it. It's not quite a paper, but not quite a fabric, but it's glued on there. I've tried taking it off. It doesn't work. But all these are stitched around the 3 edges with kind of like a fishing line type thread. So I'm going to use that to my advantage. Let's put those aside. And we're going to bring in our slow stitch project. Now I was wondering, what can I make with these? Well, my first thought is a pouch because it's a perfect size. So I got this folded up a little bit. Just put 2 pins in it. And I've got my thread here. I'm using embroidery floss. And I'm just going to go up through the bottom because I want that not hidden kind of. But what I want to do now, you won't be able to see this, but the fishing line comes in about that far. So I want to run this stitch up kind of where that fishing line is. You could definitely do this on a machine. And yes, I have a sewing machine. I have a nice sewing machine actually. Do I use that sewing machine? Very, very rarely. I will be digging it out soon, because I want to do some more of my cross stitch covers. And I need to, well, I don't need to, but I usually use my sewing machine to put all the pieces together. So now I'm just doing a running stitch, maybe about 1/8 of an inch apart. I don't want to go too big. And if this is something that I'm going to mass make, then I might just dig out my sewing machine and put some clear thread in it and just whip all these sides up. But I was sitting here, it was, I don't know, probably 1 o'clock in the morning. I had turned my computer off, and then I decided I wasn't quite tired. And I had some of these strips sitting there because while my sister was here, her and I took one of the books apart. She wanted a few pieces out of it. And I thought, oh, what can I do? So I thought of this little pouch. Kind of a envelope type thing. Now I thought I could just stick these like in a pocket of a journal. I could make a little journal for it. I could give it away with a little gift in it. All kinds of possibilities. But I think they're thin enough that you could actually just slide them into a pocket in a journal. Now, that paper piece is right there at the top, so that gives a nice sturdy entry to your envelope, pouch, whatever you want to call it. I guess upholstery envelope pouch would be a good name for it. But I'm just going to, like I say, just do a quick running stitch. I try to match up the thread. So then that way you can't really see the thread per se. But either way it would be fine. Like slow stitching, I think, is all about being able to see what you've sewn. Okay, so I want to get just to the end. So my last stitch is going to be on just the single side. And I'm going to go in and out here a couple times because I just want to enforce that just a tiny little bit. Now, the stitching of this fishing line type thread, I guess it's actually technically a quilting thread. I don't really know. And now I want to tie a knot the best I can without seeing it. Now, if a person sees it, it's not going to be the end of the world. But I do want to put a few knots in there because I want it to hold. I don't want it to come apart. So I think I'll do 3 of those. And I'm just grabbing just a little piece of that upholstery fabric to put my knots. There's 100 different ways to tie knots. This is how I do it. And then I'm going to take my thread and I'm just going to kind of weave it down a bit through the upholstery fabric, and I'm going to snip it off. I put that little bit, like an inch or so, because in that way there's a little bit there so the knot is less likely to come undone. Okay, so now I need to do the other side. And I'm pretty much doing this on real time, so you actually know how long it's taking me to sew this. The hardest part for me is probably threading the needle. Oh, concentrating. There we go, we got it. Okay, and then I'm just doubling it over. So I'm using 2 strands of the struggle is real when you're tying knots and stuff. Okay, just gonna put a quick little knot in here, even out my threads, and off I go and do the same thing down this side. Now these are so easy to make. You could do it with fabric or anything you wanted, really. I just thought, well, I had these, and I do have access to more. She actually put me on a little list. At this point, they only have 2 other ladies that gather up books. And sometimes they don't always want them. I had to go into their upholstery shop because I ordered a big piece of foam to put on the futon for a mattress. And so while I was in there, they probably had on display, bet you they had 200 or more books. And so I asked her, I said, so what do you do with the old books? And she says, we have 2 ladies that take them for making stuff. She says, do you want to be put on the list? So I'm like, sure. And then she says, oh, I might have a couple in the back right now. So I'm like, okay. So she went back there and she had 3 upholstery books and 1 wallpaper book. So I grabbed them. But then I've been thinking, well, if I don't make anything out of them, what's the point in getting them? So here I am. I'm making this little pouch. Now as for a closure on the pouch, I don't know what to use yet. I'm thinking, you could put a ribbon around it quite easily. You could use snaps. You could use Velcro. You could put a zipper in it if you really wanted to go that far on the work involved with these. I don't, because zippers are a lot harder to sew in by hand. And being that most of my stitching is by hand, But I think, oh geez, you know, like, paid the money for a sewing machine, why aren't I using it? I guess part of the reason is, like, even in my new craft room, I don't have a place to set it up and leave it set up. I was originally hoping I would, but I don't. Could I make room? Maybe, but... Okay, let's tie my knots now. And I can see where my stitching is, but I doubt that you can on the video. Okay, tie my good knots here. 1, 2, and 3. I kind of do just like a half hitch on my thread. That's how I tie that last knot, and then I'm just gonna go down a ways, bring it up, and snip it off. Just gonna put that needle in here so I don't lose it. Take up my couple stick pins, and your pouch is pretty much done, really. This is the only edge that is not finished that might fray. But I've got some of this here. It's just some kind of weird trim, but I thought that looked kind of nice on there. So what I'm thinking is just stitching this down. And if I line it up, I think there, let's just put a pin in here. And then if I come over here, that kind of lines up perfectly with the little zigzag things, but I want it to be sticking over the edge ever so slightly. Let's just trim this off just so we're not dealing with such a big piece. Now on the back side, it's going to look kind of like that. Now I could definitely glue this down without a doubt, and I think I might do that. So let me grab my glue. Okay, I've got my art glitter glue, and the pin is glued into the bottle. There we go. Let's just peel off some of that. Okay, so let's unpin this now. And I'm going to put glue right along the edge here. I find art glitter glue works just fine for gluing down things like lace and trims and stuff. And then I'm going to put that down so that's right on the edge there. Oops. And that's right on the edge there. So let's just kind of press that down. This is thick enough lace that the glue won't come through. So I'm just going to hold that for a second. I will stitch this down. So, and then I'm going to put some glue kind of wherever the lace is going to fall. Now, putting the glue on there is actually a good thing because that's going to kind of stop that edge from fraying down. And once this is dry, I can easily stitch it down. Okay, let me put my pin in my glue. So I kind of need to leave that sit now before I glue it. But it's also going to stop these edges from fraying. But you get the idea, like this is kind of nice. Gluing it down, I don't have to worry about seeing my stitches on the back, but I'm not too worried about that part anyways. And I could line the inside with just a little bit of lace. But that gives you an idea of the little pouch. Now I've done a couple. This was my first one, kind of almost denim looking. And I used white to stitch this piece down. I just had this laying on my desk forever and ever. I've left these threads a little bit longer because I might put a dab of glue on there, or I might put a little piece of lace or trim on there. I think it's okay seeing the stitching. I don't think that's a big deal because it's kind of a slow stitch project. But you can't see my stitches here at all. But then you've got a great little pouch to put anything in that you want, which I think is kind of cute. It's still very thin, so you could easily tuck it into a pocket in a journal. Very, very easy. I have not put anything on these to close. I don't have any kind of bigger snaps, which I think would be a good idea. But snaps can be kind of hard, you know, so I might get some bigger Velcro dots and actually sew them on. I don't think I would rely on glue onto the fabric. It might be okay, maybe not, but it's okay even without anything, I think. And then this was another one I did out of kind of a blue piece. And I did just a whole bunch of lace scraps. And then I had this fuzzy wool. So I did a whole bunch of French knots. When I open it up, I've got the backing here of all the wool. And part of me wants to cover it up and part of me doesn't. Part of it is, that's the character of it right there. It's kind of the purpose of slow stitching, is seeing your stitches and having it, for a better choice of words, messy. But just to make it a one-of-a-kind thing. And again, I haven't put nothing on the inside to close it. But like I say, you could easily wrap a ribbon loosely around there, tied in a bow, something like that. But I like how they're turning out. And I can actually see making a whole bunch of these and then putting something in it and sending it to somebody as happy mail. And then they can decide what they want to do with the piece. Like I say, I probably got, I'm going to guess at least, 100 out of one of the books that we tore apart. So, but yes, I will definitely hand stitch this. I will stitch it in a white. And like I say, I think I'm okay with seeing the stitching and whatnot inside, like in this one. So let me know. Would you cover this up? Would you leave it? Would you be concerned about seeing the stitching on that side? Like I say, part of me wants to cover it up, part of me doesn't. So I haven't quite decided. I think I will end up leaving it. It's a lot more work to put it on there. And if I put it on the inside, I'd have to glue it. Because if I stitched it, the stitching is going to be through on the other side. So, but let me know what you think about these little pouches. You could do them different sizing depending on the size of your upholstery. A couple snaps, it would make a cute little thing for in your purse. Cute little bag to put a little bit of makeup in or something. Many uses that they would have. I'm making these more for junk journals, so makeup would be out. You could do stitching like on the other side. I've got some that are plain, like this one here. I was thinking like a crochet doily over top of this, so then you'd see the pink, but then you'd have the doily on the outside. So I'm planning something like that for these. I do plan on stitching all of these up. I've pulled out a variety of colors. And as I say, I think these plain ones, I'd be more likely to decorate them somehow a little bit, maybe with a vintage piece of embroidery or something along that line is what I'm thinking for some of these more plain ones. But the ones that are really decorative like this, I'll probably just stitch up and just leave because they're already decorative. And then by the time you put something on top, this might not be the best choice of what to put on here, but those colors would actually go with anything. But just using stuff up. Using it up. That's what 2025 is about. So, like I say, I plan on doing all of these up into these little pouches. You can see there is a couple that are shorter. And that's because, actually, I think we might have taken apart 2 books. And the one book, these were actually glued together at the top. And I couldn't get that glue off, so I snipped it off. So these will be a little bit narrower. Not by a lot, but a little bit. So like a 1/2 inch narrower, which is still fine. And I thought some of the upholstery might be a little thick for doing a little pouch like this. So I did pick some of the thinner ones. And some have a great pattern like this one. Here you can see the glue right here. So I will probably chop that off right here. Because just can't, you know, it's some kind of industrial glue. And I've tried to pick it off and it just does not come off. And same with this thing. I thought, oh, if I took the stitching out, so I actually did that on one, but no, you can't peel that stuff up. Maybe there's a secret to it, but it adds a nice little thickness to here where you're going to be sliding things in and out. So I wasn't too worried about getting that off. So hopefully you like this little slow stitch project. Check out my playlist for slow stitching on fabrics or on paper. And stop by, visit the links below. And I would love it if you liked, shared, and subscribed to my channel. Come over and visit me on Facebook. Join the group. Have some fun. And we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.